Hello, Brubs. We're back with new book arrivals, number 256, I think. I didn't get very many books today at the book stock, which is in Livonia, Michigan. At the Laurel Park Place Mall, they have probably like 50, 60,000 books, maybe more, maybe 100,000. But their prices are kind of expensive. So I buy less and less, like a trade paperback and a hardcover. Each one of these books costs $4. Normally, I wouldn't pay $4 for a book, but these were exceptional books, so I got them. What's this? Book stock. Shooter books. Anyway, it's a week-long book sale. Tons of used books. They got great stock. It's just they charge too much for their books. Let's see. Pre-sale. Plus, they have a pre-sale, and the admission's $25. I didn't go to that because why would I pay 25 extra bucks when books are $4 a piece? But let's get on with this bullshit. Ambrose Bierce's The Devil's Dictionary, an abridged edition, but abridged. I mean, you're really never going to get through the whole book. And it's just poppycock, but I have to have at least 5 or 6 copies of this now. I don't know where the hell they're at. I could probably go pull them out. Maybe I will. Why not? Let's see where my Devil's Dictionary is. Oh, shit. The Devil's Dictionary. Where is this motherfucker? You would think it's these, but they might be down there. Devil's Dictionary. I don't see them. There's my dictionary books. So where the fuck are the Devil's Dictionaries? That's all them. No, I see them. Very strange, honestly. The Devil's Dictionary. Maybe I put them all in separate spots. Where are they? Are they down there? No. I must have put them in a special spot. A special spot, buddy. Where the fuck are they? The Devil's Dictionary. I don't see it. I don't see it, bruv. I don't know. I know I have multiple copies. I just can't find them. What did I do with them then? Anyway, back to the books at hand, since I don't seem to know what I did with my copies of the Devil's Dictionary. Let's read a little. This print is so small. Duty, that which sternly impels us in the direction of profit along the line of desire. Sir Lavender Portwine, in favor at court, was wroth at his master, who'd kissed Lady Port. What's up, bruv? His anger provoked him to take the king's head, but duty prevailed, and he took the king's bread instead. That's brilliant. Edible, good to eat, and wholesome to digest. As a worm to a toad to a snake to a pig to a man to a bam. And inside this book is a sales receipt from the J.L. Hudson Company, which you can barely see if you look at it. See where it says company? Maybe. Very faded. Anyway, it says the J.L. Hudson Company. Can't really. What's the year? Looks like 4/4 is the date. I just don't know the year. Anyway, that's when this book was bought. Originally, extinction, the raw material out of which theology created the future state. Felon, a person of greater enterprise than discretion, who, in embracing an opportunity, has formed an unfortunate attachment. Right. So, yeah, that's the Devil's Dictionary. The concept's great, but, I mean, there's been many people who tried to write a version of the Devil's Dictionary. Not very good, most of them. Bierce, though, disappeared. He went to Mexico. I think it was during the Spanish-American War. Was it? Perhaps. And he disappeared. He went to fight for Mexico, supposedly. And he disappeared and was never seen again, thus ending his career as a writer. Curious Punishments of Bygone Days, Alice Morse Earl. As you can see, this guy's in the gibbet, or not the gibbet, what's that called? If only I'd got this book for $3, I paid $4. The Drunkard Cloak. This book was originally printed in 1896. This was re-released by the Singing Tree Press in 1968. Hello, bruv. Your name's Hi? Or does that say HD? No, it says Hi. Hi. The illustrations by Frank Hazelplug. Let's check out some of these. The Bilbos. Is that the Baggin family? In ransacking old court records, newspapers, diaries, and letters for the historical foundation of the books which I have written on colonial history, I have found and noted much of interest that has not been used or referred to in any of these books. An accumulation of notes on old-time laws, punishments, and penalties has evoked this volume. The subject is not a pleasant one, though it often has a humorous element. But a punishment that is absolute gains an interest and dignity from antiquity, and its history becomes endurable because it has a past only and no future. That men were pilloried and women ducked. Is that what that says? Ducked? By our law-abiding forebears rouses a thrill of hot indignation which dies down into a dull ember of curiosity when we reflect that they will never be pilloried or ducked again. Kind of sad that they won't be ducked again. An old-time writer dedicated his book to all curious and ingenious gentlemen and gentlewomen who can gain from the acts of the past a delight in which the present days of virtue, wisdom, and the humanities. It does not detract from the good intent and complacency of these old words that the writer lived in the days when the pillory, stocks, and whipping posts stood brutally rampant in every English village. Now we also boast that, as Pope says, taught by time, our hearts have learned to glow for others' good and melt for others' woe. And I, too, dedicate this book to all curious and ingenious gentlemen and gentlewomen of our own days of virtue, wisdom, and the humanities. And I trust any chance reader, a century hence, if such reader there be, may in turn be not too harsh in judgment on an age that had to form powerful societies and associations to prevent cruelty, not to hardened and vicious criminals, but to faithful animals and innocent children. All right, there's that bullshit. Laying by the heels in the Bilbos. The hell is this? Bilbo. What's it, just a thing on the feet and then you just stick it up there? Why's this guy got legs like fucking Barry Sanders? Curious Punishments of Bygone Days, the Bilbos. There is no doubt that our faraway grandfathers, whether of French, English, French, Dutch, Scotch, or Irish blood, were much more afraid of ridicule than they were of even sinning, and far more than we are of extreme derision or mockery today. So there's that, the Bilbos. See what the second one is. The pillory. You will not pillory me, bruv. That's fucking great. I don't know why we got rid of this stuff. This ain't torture. This is brilliant. Put him in the stock. Aye, we'll put him in the stock, bruv. Fetch forth the stocks, you stubborn ancient knave. I mean, why would you ever get rid of this stuff? This is ingenious. Let's see what the other one was. The ducking stool. What did this do? The ducking stool seems to have been placed. What? Oh, just my camera messing up. The ducking stool seems to have been placed on the lowest and most contempt-bearing stage among English instruments of punishment. The pillory and stocks, the gibbet, and even the whipping post have seen many a noble victim, many a martyr. But I cannot think any save the most ignoble criminals ever sat the ducking stool. In all the degrading and cruel indignities offered, the many political and religious offenders in England, under the varying rules of both church and state, through the 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries, the ducking stool played no part and secured no victims. It was an engine of punishment specifically assigned to scolding women, though sometimes kindred offenders such as slanderers, make-baits, chiders, brawlers, railers, and women of light carriage also suffered through it. Though gruff old Sam Johnson said to a gentle Quaker lady, "Madam, we have different modes of restraining evil, stocks for men, a ducking stool for women, and a pound for beasts." Yet men, as well as women scolds, were punished by being set in the ducking stool, and quarrelsome married couples were ducked, tied back to back. The last person set in the rugby ducking stool was a brutal husband who had beaten his wife. Brewers of bad beer and bakers of bad bread were deemed of sufficiently degraded ethical standing to be ducked. Unruly paupers also were thus subdued. The ducking stool. All right, there's the stocks, the whipping posts. Hell yeah. Whipping of the cart's tail. Punishment of authors and books. Burning books. I burned books one winter. I stayed at my dad's cottage in some not remote area, but less populated area, and I burned books for a couple days after they ran out of lumber. Wood, as it were. Wood, as it were, bruv. Oh, look at this. She got no head. Oh, her head's inside the fucking stockade. You got nothing, bruv. You're getting branded right in your back. Who cares if we expose your tits? You're getting the fucking branding. Military punishments. They're long, bruv. Riding the wooden horse. You're gonna ride that wooden horse, bruv. That's fucking brilliant. You will ride a wooden horse as punishment for your sins, bruv. What other ones were there? Public penance. What is this? We just sit up there. This fucking cretin. He broke the law, bruv. And the scarlet letter was when you were an adulterer, right? Branks and gags. The brank or scold's bridle was unknown in America in its English shape. Though from colonial records we learn that scolding women were far too plentiful and were gagged for that annoying and irritating habit The brank, sometimes called the gossip's bridle or dame's bridle or scold's helm, was truly a bridle for a cursed queen. It was a shocking instrument, a sort of iron cage, often of great weight when worn, covering the entire head, with a spiked plate or flat tongue of iron to be placed in the mouth over the tongue. Hence, if the offender spoke, she was cruelly hurt. So what? Let's see that again. With a spiked plate or flat tongue of iron to be placed in the mouth near the tongue. That's crazy. Look at this lady. You said too much, ma'am. You got to shut your face. But she could not shut up, bruv. She was in the brink. Let's see about the scarlet letter. I think I passed that up. Branding and maiming. I think that's all, bruv. That's all. Shall move on to the next book. The great works of Jewish fantasy and occult. And I assume that many of the book stock donors are of Jewish persuasion, since there's a rather large section on Judaism and the Holocaust. And usually that's where I go first, is the Jewish section, because they have good books. And I'm always looking for Jewish mysticism. And this one fits under that, the great works of Jewish fantasy and occult. Mainly I'm looking for, the Dybbuk box is one thing, but there's also the Golem. I don't know if there's any stories about the Golem in here. Rabbi Nachman or Bratslav. The Tale of the Seven Beggars. Tale of the Menorah, the Gilgud, or the Transmigration, the Dybbuk, by Ber Horowitz. I don't know if there is anything about the Golem. Doesn't look like it. The Conversation of Two Ghosts. Oh my god! Oh, I'm tired. Guess I'm not that tired. Aquarius Tale. Her father was a fallen angel. Some people believe it, bruv. So there's that. Joachim Neugroschel. Here is an extraordinary collection for all those who love great works of fable and imagination, as well as those interested in Jewish folklore and tradition. Published originally in 2 volumes, this complete edition contains 31 short stories and novellas, which are organized according to the 7 days of the week, ranging from the bizarre and visionary to the beautifully lyrical, from glittering allegory to homespun realism, and from simple moral tale to subtle religious emotion. All are richly imaginative, and each makes a unique contribution to the small body of occult and fantastic literature that can truly be considered classic. Although written for the Yiddish-speaking Eastern European Jews of the late 19th and 20th centuries. The fables, ghost stories, and humorous tales in the anthology are as universal as childhood. As with the Arabian Nights and Grimm's fairy tales, these 31 stories are easy to appreciate for their imagination and sense of wonder, but also strike a modern nerve. By preserving the texture and shading of the original Yiddish, Joachim Neugroschel presents the religious imagination in one of its most powerful and exalted permutations. The fourth book is The Heights of Machu Picchu by Pablo Neruda. I believe he was what kind of Spanish? He wasn't Spanish. He was Latin American, which is Spanish, but where is he from? Latin American. Was he from Chile? I don't know where the fuck he was from. Wherever he was from. This is rendered by the distinguished poet Nathaniel Tarn. Translation. I believe it's bilingual too. It's not a very long book. I plan to sell this fucker. You dead of a common abyss, shades of one ravine, the deepest, as if to match the compass of your magnitude. I'm tired, so this is how it came, the truth, the most consuming death, from perforated rocks, from crimson cornices, and cataracting aqueducts. Right. There's another book from the Jewish mysticism, Tarot and the Gates of Light, a Kabbalistic path to liberation by Mark Horn. We shall read his. Jesus Christ, that's small. The 49-day mystical practice known as counting the Omer is an ancient Jewish ritual observed between the holidays of Passover and Shavuot, I don't know how to say it, Pentecost. As practiced by Kabbalists, it is designed to cleanse and purify the soul in preparation for spiritual revelation and a personal connection with God. The ritual creates an inner journey that follows the path of the Israelites from the moment of their physical freedom from slavery in Egypt to the establishment of their spiritual freedom 49 days later at Mount Sinai. Anyway, I don't know what any of that has to do with. What's that say? Malchut of Cheesed and Atzilut. In the Ten of Wands, we have someone who has experienced divine love in all its manifestation as a burden. So yeah, it's about the tarot. You do not do, Black Shoe, in which I have lived as a foot for 30 years. Rudyard Kipling's Tales of Horror and Fantasy, with an introduction by, Neil Gaiman, the supposed twice or thrice sexual predator. We know not which. But he's been accused by several women now that people get rid of his books and all that shit. I mean, come on. Cray. I mean, Allen Ginsberg basically admitted to not having sex, because it's not having sex when you're polluting a child, but he admitted to that. At least he spoke of it. Who knows if it's true, but that's what he said. He was part of NAMBLA, so, I mean, no one shoots him down, though. He's just an old beatnik. That's cool, I guess. But Neil Gaiman, a 40-something-year-old dude who writes about little fucking cartoons, which, on the face of itself, is pretty fucking weird to begin with, but he's suddenly the bad guy. Maybe he is. I don't really care, honestly. I don't know why I picked up this book, other than the fact it's got a great title. Rudyard Kipling's Tales of Horror and Fantasy, with an introduction by Neil Gaiman. These are obviously his ghost stories and his, The Vampire. I don't think I've ever read The Vampire. A fool there was, and he made his prayer, even as you or I, to a rag and a bone and a hank of hair. We called her the woman who did not care, but the foot, he called her his lady fair, even as you or I. Oh, the years we waste and the tears we waste, and the work of our head and hand. Yeah, that's Kipling. My eyes hurt, so I ain't reading. That's probably why I stopped reading to begin with on this channel, because no one cares and hurts the fuck out of my eyes doing it. The Power of Babel. And I think that's a play on words by John McWhorter, who is also the author of Our Magnificent Bastard Tongue. He's a mixed race linguist, and he often pisses off different sides of the spectrum with his takes on racial matters. But this is The Power of Babel. And it's just a book of linguists. What's it called? What's that called? Linguistics. That's it. Linguistics. And the other day when I was checking out a copy of McWhorter's, this dude, McWhorter's Our Magnificent Bastard Tongue, it mentioned this book, and then I happened to find it, so I got it. First edition in a nice mylar jacket. You can't beat it, bruv. You can't beat it. And now I'm getting really tired, so ending this stream that nobody wants to watch because people want to be entertained. I don't give a fuck. How's that sound? Don't give a fuck what they want.